Well, ladies and gentlemen, I took the plunge, and yesterday I did buy the little ESPN Plus thing. Now, I realize a lot of people buy the ESPN Plus for Disney, Snow White, all that stuff, whatever. But guys, I really don't watch much TV anymore. I just bought it, the $11, to try and see if this bracket predictor is actually good. And I will say there is an advantage to having this, I guess, to where you can fill out your bracket in a much better format. The first round, there's really no advantage to this thing, but it will give you custom matchups in the second, third, and fourth rounds, all the way to the final. So that's the good thing. The good thing is being able to see the teams next to each other if there's a potential matchup in the second, third round, whatever hypothetical you put together based on who wins in your bracket. So that's really the positive to this. The first round, obviously it's going to say to take UConn. The problem with things like this, it's always going to say to take, the favorite because it's an analytical thing. Now, you can find these stats pretty much anywhere. I guess it gives you a nice little look at these teams. Obviously, UConn is way better than Stetson. I don't know what this decision tree is. 90% chance UConn wins. I don't understand that. UConn should be at 99% chance or 98. It doesn't even have the BPI, the basketball power index percent, which surprises me. It does have a simulation. So, obviously, with the match, this is how you can actually fill out your bracket. You just do it by clicking on it if you have this. FAU versus Northwestern. So, when it comes to this bracket, I'll try and make it realistic. I will make it a little bit different than my personal bracket that I filled out on Sunday night. And this will probably be my last serious bracket. Obviously, this is not going to count for me. Only one bracket is going to count for me. That's the one I filled out on Sunday night, my main one. And that is on my channel. But this is just kind of something interesting to look at and see. Really, I'm just going to get through this first round, and then you'll see how kind of the advantage to this. FAU versus Northwestern. The thing is, I've picked both of these teams in different brackets, so it doesn't. I'll pick Northwestern. I do like Northwestern. San Diego State versus UAB. So yes, this is a 5v12 I wanted to talk about. Now, obviously, there's a lot of 12v5 upsets. I get it. But this is probably one I would not be picking. There's very likely to only be one 5v12 upset, possibly two at the most. So you're going to need 5 seeds to win. And San Diego State, a team that I'm not really high on, UAB is just not good. They're just not. I know they won their conference tournament. It was kind of a lightning in the bottle type thing. We're going to have them advance. Auburn versus Yale. Yale is another situation. We expected Princeton to win the Ivy. It didn't happen. Yale almost lost to Brown, who's 5 games under 500. Auburn has the best analytics by far. BYU Duquesne, an 11 seed, very surprising. Probably should be a 12, maybe a 13. You can see all of the numbers in this 6v11 game favor BYU. This is the most lopsided 6v11 game. A lot of people like BYU to advance deep into this tournament. They are a very good 6 seed, they're a lot better than where they're seated. I'm surprised. I thought they would be a 5. Top of the 5 as well. Illinois and Morehead State. I don't see Illinois losing this game. They've got too good of an offense. Washington State and Drake. Very similar game. Kind of interesting. You look at the analytics, they do slightly favor Washington State. I have Washington State in my main bracket going on a Sweet 16 run, and I do believe there are a lot of people picking Drake. In this bracket, I will be picking Drake. Iowa State versus South Dakota State. It's a 15v2. You're not going to be able to see via any type of analytics and predict a 15-2 upset. It's just not, the one thing you can look at, this is the problem with Iowa State. South Dakota State is better on offense in several numbers, points per possession, defensive value. Iowa State's probably, significantly better opponent turnover. I'm just not going to pick against Iowa State, honestly. I'm going to start rolling through these a little faster. I'm sorry. How about Wagner winning yesterday? The Seahawks. Yeah, there's no way Wagner wins that game. What are they, 17-15 now? Congratulations to them. Michigan State, Mississippi State. I do like Michigan State to win that game personally. St. Mary's versus Grand Canyon. This is another 5v12 where I like St. Mary's, but I'll still pick St. Mary's. I don't want to hedge too much in a bracket like this. I will be changing it a little bit, but Bama versus Charleston, I think there's really good value on Bama. A lot of people are fading Bama. They're really good offensively. I know their defense is terrible. New Mexico versus Clemson. Look at this. This is a 6v11 game. It's basically even. Look at the point spread. New Mexico by 2. So yeah, New Mexico is like a prime 11 over a 6 to the point where they're favorites. Baylor and Colgate. I need some upsets. I'm gonna go Colgate in this one. It's very unlikely, but you take a 14 over a 3. Dayton and Nevada. This time I will go with Dayton. Believe it or not, more than half the people are picking Nevada, and I did pick Nevada as well. The reason is because Dayton was just so bad down the stretch. But Duran Holmes, I'll take Dayton. Arizona versus Long Beach State. You got to go Arizona. Long Beach State, I was looking last night during my live stream at some of the just analytics, the Ken Palm. Long Beach State is worse than, what was it, Longwood? They're worse than some 16 seeds analytically. So is St. Peter's, by the way. Moving on to the South. This is kind of the annoying thing. It just, it takes time to load. Houston versus Longwood. We're going to go with Houston, obviously. Nebraska versus A&M. I do like Nebraska. I'm surprised more people are picking A&M, but it is an 8v9 game. For this one, I will go A&M. Wisconsin, James Madison. I do love James Madison. It's just such a great spread. 5.5 point spread. 33%, 36% defense. Look at this offense. I know James Madison has had a much easier schedule. That's what people will say. I get it. I think James Madison pulls it off. Because I'm doing a little bit different of a bracket, I will take Wisconsin here. There's no shame in taking a higher seed. Duke versus Vermont. I think I'm going to have Duke go pretty deep in this bracket. I do like Duke to win that game. Texas Tech versus NC State. It seems like people are really sleeping on Texas Tech. This is a good matchup to compare these teams by. 5-point favorites for Texas Tech. Wow, a very close game. 53% chance to win according to the simulation. Yeah, this is a close game. I'll take Texas Tech, but it'll be a good one. It's an 11v6. It's your typical lightning in a bottle NC State team. Oklahoma versus Kentucky. Oakland versus Kentucky. You got to go Kentucky there. Florida versus potentially Colorado. You could really see Colorado going on a deep run, but they have to win their play-in. It's very hard to compare. But even look at this. This is how crazy it is. The amount of us that are picking Florida to the Elite Eight, it's almost disgusting how many of us are, me included. And the decision, look at this, Colorado, 51% chance to win this game. The simulation has them at 49% chance, and we're all picking Florida to go deep. I'll be honest, it just doesn't make sense in terms of if everyone is predicting it based on the percent chances. Really doesn't make sense to predict Florida to go deep. I'm not going to change my bracket because it is what it is. But it just, at this point, when I see all the data, it just does not make sense. Marquette versus Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky actually is the best 15 seed analytically, and I did pick them to beat Marquette because I wanted a 15 over a 2. You can see this game. Wow, look at the defense by Western Kentucky. But they do have a much easier schedule. So see, it's like, how do you, the reason this is a good, system to look at, it's not because of the first round. We've got more first round games. All right, let me just get through this. Purdue probably going to beat definitely is going to beat Montana State. Utah State versus TCU. This will be a good comparison. Well, thanks for nothing. 51%, that doesn't really tell me much. TCU favorite. We're going to go with TCU this time. Gonzaga versus McNeese. This time we will go with Gonzaga. Kansas versus Samford. We're going to go Samford. The injuries to Kansas. Everyone's fading them. This bracket, I will choose Samford. South Carolina, Oregon. Listen, I like Oregon to win this game, but for this bracket, I'll go South Carolina. Creighton versus Akron. I think Creighton's on upset alert, but I'm going to take them to win that game. Texas versus Colorado State. So Colorado State wins yesterday, and they only have Texas favorites by 2.5. I guess that's not totally surprising. You know, Virginia is just such a... what did they score, like 42 points? And then Tennessee versus St. Peter's, definitely Tennessee. Don't fall for that trap where, oh, because St. Peter's won a few years ago, it's meaningless, guys. It's a completely different team. Okay, so this is kind of where it becomes valuable. You get the second round matchup, UConn versus Northwestern. You can see UConn's still a massive favorite, not surprising. It would behoove you to pick them. San Diego State versus Auburn. Auburn is just going to be a big-time lopsided favorite. San Diego State, it's not going to happen this year. It's a very chalky region. BYU, Illinois is a... Look at this. The simulator has BYU at a 58% chance to win. I'll go with BYU with an upset. Drake taking on Iowa State. I think it makes sense to pick Iowa State, even though I could see them getting upset. North Carolina taking on Michigan State. Let's go North Carolina in that one. St. Mary's in Alabama. This is where I picked St. Mary's. I'm going to pick St. Mary's again because I've done too many brackets already. Let's just say that. I'll pick St. Mary's. New Mexico versus Colgate. I do like, look at this. If this matchup happens, New Mexico is massive favorites. It is kind of cool to see the hypothetical matchup, you know, that because it has it here. It's kind of just, I like seeing the logos next to each other. Dayton versus Arizona. You got to go Arizona. Dayton did not play well late in the season. Houston versus A&M. People were asking me, could A&M beat Houston? It's very, very unlikely. It's not impossible. Look at the simulation. 94% chance to win for Houston. That's very bullish for them. Definitely, I would say, well, this is pretty close numbers here. Yeah, Wisconsin is a decently valued team. And they've got a much better strength of schedule. You know, let's go Wisconsin in this one. Yeah, there's no shame in doing that. This is just a random bracket. Texas Tech versus Kentucky. Just kind of see some of these hypothetical matchups. I think we'll go Texas Tech in this one. We'll go 6/3. Colorado versus Marquette. I mean, this is a pretty crazy. For a 10 versus a 2, Marquette only a 69% chance to win, but we're going to go Marquette. Purdue versus TCU. A lot of people asking me, do I think Purdue is going to lose to TCU? Do I think Purdue could lose to Utah State? Believe it or not, I think it's possible, and I'm going to have TCU winning in this one just for fun. Have a 1 seed lose early. Gonzaga and Samford. We'll have Samford kind of carry the momentum, win that game. South Carolina and Creighton. So in this one, I will have Creighton going semi-deep. Texas taking on Tennessee. This is the interesting matchup. Now, you can see the simulator does like Tennessee at around a 79% chance. The decision, you know, I don't know about the decision tree. Looks like Tennessee should win this game. In this one, I could see Texas winning it, though. It'll be an interesting one. Texas is like a dark horse team if they get past Colorado State. UConn taking on Auburn. This is a close game, man. UConn got so screwed with their region, taking on Auburn as a 4 seed in the Sweet 16. Yeah, so this is the game that's going to make or break your bracket. At this point, I do not recommend picking UConn to go deep because everyone is picking them. You can have them go to the Final Four. I'm going to have them go to the Final Four, but you have to have them losing. That's my opinion on them. BYU versus Iowa State. This bracket, I'm going to have BYU advancing to the Elite Eight, going really deep. North Carolina versus St. Mary's. I mean, look at this. They were mad at me that I picked St. Mary's over North Carolina. The simulator says, no, they've got a 54% chance to win. So this is why this St. Mary's team, they might be an Elite Eight team. New Mexico versus Arizona. Yeah, you got to be safe with something like this. I know people like New Mexico. They're kind of like this year's Florida Atlantic, New Mexico, Florida Atlantic, higher seed going to maybe the Final Four. I just don't see it happening, but I understand people picking it. If you're really bold, you do something like that. Houston versus Wisconsin. Yeah, this would be a great matchup for Houston. They're just better at basically everything than Wisconsin. They kind of play similar styles as well. Texas Tech versus Marquette. I think I'm gonna have Marquette going deep in this one just for fun. These are not my official picks again, guys, but it's just kind of a fun thing to look at these comparisons of these teams. How about this TCU versus Samford, 9 versus 13? I guess we will have TCU going deep in this one, and then Creighton taking on Tennessee. I do like Tennessee slightly over Creighton there. Now we're on to the Elite Eight. It is going to be Connecticut taking on BYU in a 1v6 game. I will go with UConn to win that game. St. Mary's versus Arizona. Man, they love St. Mary's. I'm trying to think how I'm going to actually pick St. Mary's to go to the Final Four in this one. I'll do it. Because then I can pick Houston, get a full chalk region there, and then I can pick Tennessee. And then my Final Four, I think, is seeded really well. It's a 1v5 and a 1v2. Yeah, that's a really good scaling when it comes to seeding. It's hard for me to pick. It's hard for me to pick St. Mary's in this game. I have to pick UConn. And then I will pick Tennessee over Houston because I haven't had Tennessee as a national champion. And then I will pick Tennessee to win this bracket just because I haven't picked them yet in any of my other brackets. And all you have to do is just save it, and then you can get kind of a actual look at how your bracket turned out. So you can see, I look at the Sweet 16, 1v4, 2v6, 2v6, 1v5, 1v5, 9v13, 2v3, 2v11. I think it's scaled decently well. Maybe you could argue one more upset I should have picked, but in general, you could also argue, is Tennessee actually going to win it all? Probably not. But, that's more of just I haven't picked them yet, so might as well throw them into the mix. Either way, guys, that's just something interesting to look at when it comes to filling out a bracket. That is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.